They're trying to steal my family's house. My wife and I met in high school. We've got 4 kids. We worked our whole life to buy this house. And then I honestly disclosed a handful of rentals that I had that overlapped this bylaw, and now they're trying to steal my home from me.
We're following our bylaw processes as they're outlined by council.
You didn't actually rent out your property, you just advertised it for a rental?
Yes, I had.
And you got fined how much?
$10,000.
You didn't ask my permission to video me.
It's not just my home and my family, but there's a lot of families who have been just devastated by this.
David Menzies for Rebel News here in Wainfleet, Ontario. And you know, folks, over the last few years, we have seen so many examples of government overreach, and I am afraid this dire set of affairs has reared its ugly head in the tiny township of Wainfleet, less than 7,000 population, which is to say, local council here has declared war on landowners who make their properties available for short-term renters. And the penalties are unbelievably harsh. Check this out. $10,000 per day per dwelling. Those fines for some people here in Wainfleet are adding up into the 6, 7, and even 8 figures. It is unbelievable, and we will get to the censorship part a little later, but I am with Scott Wilson. He is one of the landowners who has been targeted by the township of Wainfleet. And Scott, let's start with this. What is the background of why suddenly the township of Wainfleet considers short-term properties structures non grata?
Yeah, David, I don't want to hypothesize or guess at why they want to stop short-term rentals. Wainfleet was actually built on having rentals. It's along the shores of Lake Erie, and at the end of the day, they've made this choice. There's different hypotheses out here. Apparently during COVID, a lot of people were renting their properties out, and there was a few places where there was some out-of-control parties. But at the end of the day, if less than 1% of the short-term rentals had the occasional bad experience, to damage and harm the entire town, everybody who's trying to do it, all the businesses who are affected by it, because essentially the beaches were empty this past summer, and short-term rental was essentially shut down. All the guests from the U.S., which is good for our GDP, disappeared. All of the cleaners, the contractors, the landscapers lost their jobs. The restaurants were empty. A lot of people were harmed by this, and all because possibly during COVID, a fraction of a percentage of the short-term rentals once in a while had a party that went out of hand. If that's the case, it's not an appropriate reason to harm everybody.
I was fined for advertising.
Oh, jeez.
Okay? So, in brief, I was looking to rent our place for 3 weeks to 3 families, 1 week apiece. And I did receive a notice, as did others, that the new law was coming into effect, and we therefore had to shut it down or we could be fined. So I did.
So wait a minute, Laurel, just so I understand this correctly, you didn't actually rent out your property, you just advertised it for a rental?
Yes, I had.
And you got fined how much?
$10,000.
I've actually received over $100,000 in fines by registered mail. On April the 4th, I found out that the city of Township of Wainfleet had a very strict short-term rental bylaws that restricted you to 6 people, and you had to go through a huge application process where you had to get all sorts of permits and septic and fire inspection, and it was a huge list. So I found out about this in March. April 4th is when the enforcement date was. My family moved here in May. I had a few rentals. We would rent it here and there when we weren't using it to help pay the taxes. So I had 5 rentals. So I listen, we're an honest family. I emailed the city, said, hey, you know what? My wife and I are moving here in May. There's a 2-month overlap. I've got these rentals. What can we work out? And, I was thinking maybe they'll let me have like a 2-month application or do something. These were all booked way before the bylaw ever became into effect. So I thought, honesty is the best policy and the city would be easy to work with. And the reply was, you've admitted guilt, and they started sending us fines. The fines are actually $10,000 $15,000 per owner per dwelling per day, and we have 2 dwellings on our property, and my wife and I are on title. So it's like $40,000, and then each one goes up by 5. So now it's $15,000 per owner per dwelling per day. So 40, 60, 80, 100, $120,000.
What is the unspoken strategy of the township of Wainfleet?
I really don't quite understand it, but there definitely does seem to be some sort of a personal investment here. There are 4 councillors and 1 mayor. I went back and watched many hours of council meetings over the past year and a half, and so I saw who was championing this and who was not. 2 councillors in particular seem to be championing this, one in particular with a great deal of vitriol. And I was astonished by the degree of passion that these 2 councillors and one in particular brought to the meeting. And so it did seem to be personal to them.
That's concerns raised about short-term rentals changing the character of neighborhoods by increasing the number of short-term guests and decreasing the number of long-term residents. And finally, enforcement, offenses, and penalties. Those are under the jurisdiction of the Administrative Monetary Penalties, or AMPs, for failures to comply with the bylaw. These fines are set out in Schedule B of the bylaw.
They've sent me over $100,000 or about $100,000 in fines, but with that comes a registered letter saying that this fine applies daily. So if I'm at $100,000 or $120,000 a day, $120,000 a day times 365, it's over $43 million.
$43 million?
Yeah, it's crazy. So here's the thing: even if I were to pay the $100,000 that they've already submitted in fine, they could turn around and say, "Hey, we've notified you by registered mail on 3 occasions that this fine is daily. You now owe us an additional $10 million," or whatever the crazy number is. And so even paying it off isn't even an option because, what's next?
I would say this is a money grab. The system, the AMP system, has always been it's really been a system that is easy to exploit. And I think that's what's happened. The AMP system, you would know an AMP in its more familiar terms as a parking ticket. So at the municipal level, parking tickets have been increasingly levied under this AMP system. The idea here is that it's very easy for a municipality to levy an AMP, and it cannot be challenged in court.
But that in itself is outrageous. I mean, the very basis of our legal system is that you're innocent until being proven guilty. You get to challenge things in court. How in the world are we in a situation, A, where these AMPs are considered all right? And secondly, as you said, this was really designed for municipal parking tickets, not as a device where a township or other municipality could take away one's dwelling because of breaking a bylaw.
Exactly. So they were designed to be for minor infractions. And in fact, under the law, the Ontario Municipal Act, it very clearly states that the intention of an AMP is to change people's behavior and specifically to not be punitive. Now, fines, and under the short-term rental bylaw that we're fighting, the fines start at $5,000 and go up to $20,000 and are accumulated daily. So those are clearly punitive. So anyway, I think basically you've got this system in place, and the money, the alternative that municipalities have is to fine people under the provincial court. And in those cases, the money does not go into the municipality, but under the AMP system, it does go to the municipality.
Trying to work something out with the city, a city employee in this building right behind me, said to me, "Scott, we're going to take your house."
Take your house.
Yeah. And they've actually followed up on that. They basically have transferred the first over $30,000 worth of fines to my property tax bill, which they said was the first step they were taking to seize my home, and that's already happened. And
Scott, to me, that seems like a vendetta. You've rented out your property on a short-term basis, and they think they're entitled to taking your property. This is Banana Republic stuff.
Yeah, I can't believe that this is happening in Canada. You know, I've had the chance to travel the world, and I was born and grew up here in Canada, and you know, it doesn't make any sense to me. They're trying to take away our constitutional rights and our freedoms, and you know, what they've done, we believe, is illegal, and so that's why we've had to form this lawsuit. Through the AMP system, there's no way to go to court. It's actually a city staff that handles you know, if you try to appeal to the penalty, it's done internally, and they just basically, from what we understand, they're just making it so everybody's guilty.
Where are we in terms of the pending litigation, in terms of, I guess, getting this township to behave in a more civil fashion? So far, they don't seem to be vulnerable in terms of receiving a public relations black eye. I can't come across anyone that thinks this is a proper thing to do, to take somebody's house away from them because of a bylaw infraction. What say you, Scott?
You know, that's a loaded question. You know, at the end of the day, what they're doing is wrong. And the good thing for us is that it's also illegal. We've got a lot of support. We've got a GoFundMe page. We've got more and more people joining the lawsuit. We've got a lot of Canadians who are angry about this. And so we're hoping that as we get this press, and we've been in contact with the Premier's office, we would hope to have the Mayor and the councils removed with cause, because what they've done is they've put the entire township at risk. This is too small a town to be facing tens of millions of dollars worth of lawsuit. They've broken too many laws, and where's that money going to come from? Somebody needs to step in and basically fix this now, and clearly our leadership here, the council and the mayor and the councillors, they are not equipped. They're trying to fight back. They're trying to have more censorship, add more fines. Within a week of me filing the lawsuit, bylaw went to my house twice. Once was because they said there was a pile of rocks that bothered them. Well, this pile of rocks, it might have been there since we bought the house 3 years ago. Yeah. And the other issue was the fence was too high. We'll have our day in court, and we'll be able to prove this, and I should be able to save my home. The only problem is that we had to initiate a lawsuit against the township, and that cost money. We signed up our 10th person to join the lawsuit today, which helps. But initial legal fees for a lawsuit like this is usually $100,000 or more, and we had several quotes, and that's what they came in at. Next week, we're completing all the affidavits, and right now we're preparing. So the court case has already been filed, and we have a docket number, and we're preparing to go to battle. And there's a lot at stake here. It's not just my home and my family, but there's a lot of families who have been just devastated by this. Hello, I'm Scott Wilson. My family and I recently relocated to our lake house in Wainfleet, a property we previously used as a cottage. My wife and I have worked diligently throughout our entire lives to purchase this home, and now the city is attempting to seize it from us. This situation is almost beyond belief. When I share our story, people often respond with disbelief, saying, "This can't happen in Canada." But it is happening right here in Wainfleet, Ontario.
So there you are, Scott. You're pleading your case. I thought we had freedom of speech in Canada, but evidently you received a document dated October 1st from the Township of Wainfleet. They're reaching out, I guess, to YouTube. They are threatening you with further economic penalization based on copyright infringement because the logo of the Township of Wainfleet is in the video. I mean, this seems crazy to me.
Yeah, so in a matter of a minute, I did searches on Google and Bing, and I found hundreds of cases across social media and mainstream media of people using the township's logo. This is actually common practice across our whole country. So, you know, I think they're upset because we're getting so much press.
We're following our bylaw processes as they're outlined by council.
Right.
So as staff, I mean, we execute those and we follow them. And I mean, generally we don't make a point of conducting legal matters in a public forum.
Oh, so what you're saying, because there's some litigation at play here, you're not able to comment on this, or?
Well, it's less a matter of not commenting. It's not our standard practice. I mean, we have bylaws that we're following, we have regulations that we follow, and we conduct ourselves in that way. We don't normally conduct our business sort of in a public forum.
So we cannot use this video because you did not ask to record us.
Aren't we being recorded right now?
Pardon me?
Aren't we being recorded right now by, surveillance camera? Or?
You didn't ask my permission to video me.
But we're in a public place, ma'am. There's no expectation of privacy.
But the matter that you're discussing isn't really a township matter open for public interpretation, so no.
Oh, I would disagree with you. I think it very much is a township matter open for public discussion. I mean, that's why we're...
Township matters are not public, sorry.
Okay, all right then. Well, thank you anyways. Take care. Look what's happening in the tiny township of Wainfleet today. Fining people millions of dollars for essentially bylaw infractions, threatening to seize houses for those who do not have the money. And how would you have that money unless you were the recipient of a lottery win? Again, folks, I wonder what the great veterans of Wainfleet Township would have to say with how the current council is acting. For Rebel News, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies. Well, folks, we have come across yet another story regarding tyranny and censorship in our wonderful Dominion. This time it's occurring in the little township of Wainfleet, Ontario. I know you love it when we tell you the other side of the story, but the thing is, we need your help. Please go to rebelfieldreports.com. That's rebelfieldreports.com. And if you're able to, kindly make a donation.